Hey everyone, welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're going deep today. Psalm 75, version, New Living Translation. Gonna unpack it all for you.
Yeah, we're going to break down the big ideas and the cool insights in this psalm.
Right, so it's short but potent. Let's dive right in, verse 1. Okay, so it starts with, "We thank you, O God. We give thanks because you are near. People everywhere tell of your wonderful deeds." So like gratitude times two.
Totally.
And it's both like personal, right?
Yeah.
But also like universal.
What I think is really interesting is how it connects, like thanking God on a personal level
Yeah.
with this idea that like everybody's acknowledging what God has done.
Right, it's like a public declaration.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes you wonder, right? Like what deeds are so incredible, so huge that they make people want to thank God personally, but also tell everyone about it.
That's a good question. So then, verse 2, "At the time I have planned, I will bring justice against the wicked." This planned time thing. What do you make of that?
Oh, it's so important. It basically says that justice isn't random,
Right.
it's part of a bigger plan. Like things are happening in a very deliberate way.
Yeah, it's like a divinely ordered universe kind of thing.
Totally. And that raises a big question for you listening. How does this idea of a planned time for justice, how does that make you think about what's going on in the world today?
Okay, on to verse 3. This one really paints a picture. "When the earth quakes and its people live in turmoil, I am the one who keeps its foundations firm."
Mm.
So we have this like image of chaos,
Yeah.
instability, but then God's solid as a rock.
Yeah, and the contrast is powerful, right? Because life can be so unpredictable, right? It's like full of turmoil. But the psalm is saying there's something bigger, something that stays steady, even when everything else is shaking. And, it even says interlude.
Oh, yeah.
Like pause here for a second.
All right, take it in.
And think about it. What does it mean to you to have that kind of foundation?
Okay, verses 4 and 5. It gets pretty direct here. "I warned the proud, stop your boasting. I told the wicked, don't raise your fists. Don't raise your fists in defiance at the heavens or speak with such arrogance." So, humility check.
For sure. This is about recognizing that human pride doesn't stand a chance against God. And there's a footnote here on verse 6. In the Hebrew, it can be translated as should lift, which really emphasizes this image of like trying to like rise up against God.
Yeah, not a good idea.
It's a reminder that like, we have limits.
Okay, verses 6 and 7. "For no one on earth, from east or west, or even from the wilderness, should raise a defiant fist. It is God alone who judges. He decides who will rise and who will fall." So God is the ultimate judge.
Exactly. And what's really important for you to understand is that it's not like God's judgment is limited to a certain place, or that it's influenced by human opinions. It's universal. It applies everywhere and to everyone.
Right. Okay, verse 8. This one's intense. "For the Lord holds a cup in his hand that is full of foaming wine mixed with spices. He pours out the wine in judgment, and all the wicked must drink it, draining it to the dregs." Whoa. Strong imagery.
Yeah, very vivid.
Yeah.
The foaming wine mixed with spices, like that shows how potent and all-encompassing God's judgment is, and draining it to the dregs. That means there's no escaping it. So it's like really driving home the seriousness of it all,
Yeah, definitely. Verse 9 switches gears a bit. It's more personal again. "But as for me, I will always proclaim what God has done. I will sing praises to the God of Jacob." So even with all this talk of judgment, the psalmist is still praising God.
Yeah, because even when things are tough, even when God is bringing judgment, the faithful still recognize and praise him.
Right. It's about that unwavering commitment.
Exactly. So for you listening, what does this tell you about the true nature of faith?
Good question. And finally, verse 10. It feels like a resolution, a promise. "For God says, I will break the strength of the wicked, but I will increase the power of the godly." Good wins.
It really does offer that hope, of ultimate restoration. Bad things won't last forever. God will deal with the wicked.
Yeah.
And those who are faithful to him, well, they'll find their strength growing. So yeah, it gives you a glimpse of the bigger picture.
Right. So Psalm 75, it's about thanking God, acknowledging his justice and his power, being humble before him, understanding the weight of his judgment, and ultimately seeing the contrast between what happens to the wicked and the godly.
And as you think about all this, here's a final thought for you. How does the idea of a planned time for justice, how does that make sense in a world where it seems like injustice happens all the time, And what does it mean to find stability in God, that firm foundation, when everything else feels so chaotic and uncertain? It's a lot to consider, but I think it's a really important intersection of faith and our everyday lives.
Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Thanks for having me.